I'll take care of this one.
Zyka's in, Mama.
The Cannonball Run wasn't just famous for its high-speed chases or belly laughs. It was a genuine rebellion. From a cast that was frequently drunk on set to a script rewritten in a parking lot, illegal street races, and even a plane stunt so dangerous the feds got involved. Here are 20 weird facts you won't believe exist about the Cannonball Run. And stick around for the bonus at the end, because there's a forgotten sequel so bizarre most fans don't even know it happened. Before becoming the famous comedy film, the Cannonball Run was a nightmare for the police force. In 1971, automotive journalist Brock Yates and legendary racer Dan Gurney drove a heavily modified Dodge van from New York to Los Angeles in 35 hours and 54 minutes, disregarding all traffic regulations and without approval from the authorities. They named the race the Cannonball Baker Sea to Shining Sea Memorial Trophy Dash in honor of Irwin Cannonball Baker, a pioneer of long-distance journeys. This was not a publicity stunt. It was a bold challenge against speed limits, safety rules, and what Yates called the oppression of drivers. By 1979, 5 illegal Cannonball Run races had taken place, with drivers using everything from Ferrari supercars to motorcycles, ambulances, and hearses.
We want to give you our blessings!
Some disguised themselves, others used fake badges, all risking arrest to shorten their time. Eventually, Brock Yates partnered with director and stuntman Hal Needham to bring this race to the big screen, turning it into a wild and chaotic film that mirrored reality. The Cannonball Run was not just based on the race, it truly embodied it, differing only in that the original maniacs were replaced by a cast of actors. Brock Yates not only adapted the real race into a script, he also brought it directly to the film set.
That has the death penalty for speeding, although I'm not so sure about Ohio.
In the Cannonball Run, Yates makes a brief appearance as a race official at the starting line, wearing sunglasses and holding a clipboard, as if everything were under control. But Yates wasn't acting. He was reliving his own creation. In 1971, he drove a Dodge ambulance across the United States in an actual Cannonball Run, with his wife in the back and a fake medical team in front. The goal? To fool the police to surpass all limits, and to prove that speed limits were made to be broken. When the film began shooting, Yates was not only involved in the script, he was also present on set, witnessing actors recreate a world he had once experienced. This is a rare case where the creator of the madness actually stepped into the legend of his own making. Despite its resounding success at the box office, grossing over $160 million, the Cannonball Run was considered an artistic nightmare by critics. The legendary critic Roger Ebert not only bluntly gave it half a star, but also delivered one of the most scathing reviews of his career. This is an abdication of artistic responsibility at the lowest possible level of ambition.
The senator's wife to Philadelphia by. Make that California, will you?
Ebert sarcastically noted that they didn't even bother to make a decent bad movie. There was no proper script, the director shot on a whim, and the actors were just hanging out in front of the camera. For serious cinephiles, it was a prime example of Hollywood making a film just to sell tickets with no regard for quality. And yet, the strange thing was, audiences loved it. Perhaps that messy, anything goes attitude was precisely what made the Cannonball Run a phenomenon. In 1980, Burt Reynolds was an undefeated name. Fresh off his success with Smokey and the Bandit, he was the world's top box office star, needing no more car movies. But when his friend Hal Needham offered him a huge paycheck, Reynolds thought to himself, why not? Later, he called it one of the worst decisions of his career.
Come here. Oh, gee.
Reynolds admitted he joined the Cannonball Run just to have fun with his friends. He didn't care about the script, didn't rehearse much, and hardly watched the daily footage. For him, the whole filming process felt like a vacation with cameras. When he saw the final cut, he hated it, but the audience did not. Like the race itself, Reynolds realized that sometimes chaos wins, even when you're not proud of the journey. Not every collision in the Cannonball Run was humorous. In one scene involving an Aston Martin and a staged accident, stunt performer Heidi Von Beltz was sitting in the passenger seat. The seatbelt was not fastened and the car crashed into a truck. Although she survived, she was left permanently paralyzed. The aftermath led to a series of lawsuits and sparked outrage within the stunt community. Her case became a significant milestone for safety in Hollywood.
Turn it off!
Huh?
Turn it off!
Since then, the Directors Guild has prohibited on-site changes to stunt plans, and the use of seatbelts has become mandatory in all vehicles used for action scenes. The film continued to be made, laughter still echoed, but behind the scenes, the Cannonball Run left a scar that would shape filmmaking for decades to come. The massive Dodge ambulance in the film, it was not a fake or a replica, it was the real deal, 100% authentic. In 1979, Brock Yates and Hal Needham drove that very vehicle across the states, posing as an emergency medical transport team with a fake patient in the back. Their intention? To race through the states without being stopped. Who would stop an ambulance after all? They managed smoothly until the engine blew up near Palm Springs, bringing their race to an end with the vehicle on a tow truck. Many years later, the ambulance was found, refurbished, and returned to the screen as Reynolds' vehicle, carrying the spirit of a true rebel beneath the hood. Sammy Davis Jr. left an indelible mark with his role as Fenderbaum, a gambling priest who spoke as fast as the wind. This role was originally written for comedian Don Rickles, a master of sardonic humor whose style fit perfectly with the exaggerated tone of the Cannonball Run.
Where's he gonna sit?
Rickles had agreed and was ready to participate, but unexpectedly withdrew at the last minute for undisclosed reasons, with rumors of scheduling conflicts or creative differences. The production team hurriedly sought a replacement, and Sammy Davis Jr. stepped in, bringing grace, energy, and a perfect blend of sinfulness and holiness to the character, beautifully complementing Dean Martin's drunken lines. Sometimes a casting mistake can kill a film. Here, it instead led to success. The priest collars, disguises, and cocktail glasses were always present, not just for show. Dean Martin and Sammy Davis Jr. were often drunk or tipsy throughout the filming, frequently arriving late, forgetting lines, and improvising entire scenes.
Where'd you get all that jewelry? Why'd he call me Shorty? 'Cause you're small.
Instead of stopping them, director Hal Needham embraced their freedom. During one shoot, Sammy had to redo a prayer because he was slurring.
Remember our car? Yeah? 2 seats? 2 seats.
Dean just laughed heartily and poured more drinks. This wasn't just acting, it was the legendary Rat Pack, living up to its reputation, perfectly blending with the chaotic atmosphere of the Cannonball Run.
You dumb shit.
Farah Fawcett had absolutely no idea what kind of movie she was involved in. She signed on to portray nature photographer Pamela Glover, believing she was joining a fast-paced action piece with a touch of romance. Her preparation was meticulous, from studying lines and delving into her character's psychology to coordinating her wardrobe with the story's emotional progression.
He's a she?
She's a he.
Oh, a he.
However, the harsh reality on set left her stunned as she watched Dean Martin in a priest costume get drunk and jest about communion wine. It was in that moment it all dawned on her. Farah later confessed she didn't realize it was a comedy until she viewed it with an audience who roared with laughter during scenes she believed were profoundly moving.
Next year we're going for the no.
Yes.
In a production built on chaos, perhaps the only authentic emotion was her own confusion. And strangely, that very fact made her performance even more brilliant. Though his role in the Cannonball Run was small, Jackie Chan treated it like a personal audition reel. He unleashed a level of physical precision that baffled the crew, executing wall flips, window dives, and powerful strikes with breathtaking speed. In fact, some of his most impressive sequences were ultimately removed from the final cut. The reason? Censors decided his dynamic style was simply too intense for a comedy, unsure how to categorize his brand of martial arts within a cross-country race film. This was a deep disappointment for Chan, who longed to show American audiences what he was truly capable of. Nevertheless, it was a start. Those edited scenes put Jackie Chan on the it was only a matter of time before he graduated from merely stealing scenes to carrying entire blockbusters on his own. Sound crazy? If you're hooked on the story, go ahead and smash that like and subscribe button. Stay tuned, because up next we're talking about unsanctioned airplane stunts, actual cops crashing the movie set, and the exact moment Jackie Chan realized Hollywood wasn't ready for him. Trust me, you don't want to go anywhere. Although Jackie Chan was proud of his American film debut in the Cannonball Run, the experience was tainted by one glaring error. The movie identified him as Japanese. This was a significant problem for Chan. a proudly Chinese man who felt the mistake was both lazy and disrespectful. Despite his private frustration, his on-screen work was impeccable. He delivered a performance defined by energy and precision, executing all his own stunts and displaying flawless comedic timing with very little dialogue. Behind the scenes, however, the misidentification fueled his determination to one day gain creative control over his projects. When the credits rolled on the Cannonball Run, the film didn't fade to black. It erupted into a now iconic blooper reel. Flubbed lines, failed stunts, and uncontrollable laughter filled the screen, capturing the chaotic spirit of the production. It was raw, hilarious, and instantly legendary. The moment left such a strong impression on Jackie Chan that he began including bloopers in his own films, starting with Dragon Lord in 1982 and continuing for years. Those imperfect takes, the falls, the real mistakes, the unscripted joy, became a signature part of his style, all sparked by the joyful mayhem of the Cannonball Run. Remember that dramatic plane landing scene? The Learjet skimming just a few feet off the ground, hurtling down a narrow road like a rocket? It looked dangerous because it was dangerous. This wasn't some kind of special effect or movie stunt. It was a real jet, flown without a filming permit and completely outside the control of the FAA. The crew completed the scene in a single nerve-wracking take, but the consequences didn't stop there. When federal authorities learned of the stunt, an investigation ensued, and Hal Needham had to use all his connections and negotiating skills to avoid criminal charges. In a movie full of outrageous stunts, the plane wasn't a prop. A movie as quirky as The Cannonball Run couldn't be constrained by a script, and rightly so. Scenes were rewritten on the fly, sometimes on the fly. Dialogue was improvised, and actors often showed up with no idea what they were shooting that day. Director Hal Needham ran the set like a live stunt show, fast-paced, unpredictable, and largely unscripted. Farah Fawcett admitted she never saw a full script. Dom DeLuise admitted to making up half his lines. Dean Martin just said whatever came to mind. There was no safety net, no real structure. Just the camera rolling until something made everyone laugh. It wasn't a movie shoot, it was free fall, and somehow they landed safely. The plane wasn't the only thing that attracted attention in the film. In a staged shootout in downtown Las Vegas, the crew staged a wild chase. Tires screeching, sirens blaring, and actors brandishing prop guns. Everything was ready. Cameras rolling, stunt drivers in position. But the most important thing was that there was no filming permit. The police thought it was real and stormed the set. In a few chaotic minutes, the Cannonball Run degenerated into chaos. The actors froze, the crew scattered, and shouts of "Cut!" went unheard. After a tense standoff and a lot of quick talking, the police backed off, leaving behind a stern warning: "Don't do it again." But Hal Needham just shrugged and kept filming. Midway through the film, a brief scene shows a police officer pulling over a speeding Lamborghini. A subtle detail, easy to miss without pausing the frame, is that the officer looks uncannily like Burt Reynolds. That's because it wasn't Reynolds, but Roy Tatum, his longtime stunt double, whose resemblance to the star was so strong that even other cast members got them confused. Tatum, who was initially just visiting the set, was unexpectedly cast for this Easter egg role. On one occasion, a producer even mistook Tatum for Reynolds, giving him a full briefing for the next scene, to which Tatum politely nodded along. For many fans, The Cannonball Run wasn't just a movie, it became a cherished memory, reincarnated as a classic arcade game. In 1986, Japanese game designer Yu Suzuki watched the film and envisioned not just the cars, but the embodiment of freedom, the open road, the warmth of the sun, and the thrill of outrunning everything. This vision led to Outrun, a game that felt more like a dream than a conventional race, prioritizing escape over trophies. Players controlled an endless road with a red Ferrari and a companion, focusing only on the drive. This iconic gaming experience began with The Cannonball Run, a comedy that never stopped moving. While most comedies saved the bloopers for the credits, Dom DeLuise as Captain Chaos couldn't wait. He was notorious for breaking character, laughing uncontrollably and constantly derailing takes. Though only a supporting role, DeLuise often stole every scene by cracking up, while Burt Reynolds maintained his cool beside him. Hal Needham eventually stopped trying to reshoot these moments, opting to keep the takes where DeLuise was laughing because they were naturally funnier. This unscripted joy visible on screen became the true heart of the film. 19. Unlike most directors who protect their sets, Hal Needham, a former stuntman, threw his own car into the mix. The sleek Ferrari 308 GTS, driven by Dean Martin and Sammy Davis Jr., wasn't just a prop, but Needham's personal, high-performance, beloved car. He handed over the keys without insurance or waivers, only warning the actors, "Don't wreck it." Despite squealing tires, a scratched door, and one scene with a near miss into a guardrail, Needham never stopped rolling. For him, the Cannonball Run was about actually living the experience, not just faking it, a spirit embodied by a director willing to bet his own car on the film's controlled chaos. 20. Roger Moore didn't play James Bond in the Cannonball Run, but he did play a man who thought he was James Bond. His character, Goldfarb Jr., drove an Aston Martin DB5, wore a tuxedo, repeated cliché spy lines, and introduced himself with the classic "Moore, Roger Moore." This brilliant self-parody almost didn't happen due to an angry protest from the actual James Bond producers. While they couldn't legally stop it, they later implemented contract clauses forbidding future Bond actors from parodying the role in other films. The Cannonball Run thus became the last time 07 was spoofed by 07 himself, a role Moore clearly relished. Bonus! It's when you thought the story couldn't get any crazier, it does. In 1989, a film called Speed Zone was quietly released, also known internationally as Cannonball Fever, Cannonball Run 3, or One for the Money. This unofficial sequel lacked Burt Reynolds and Dom DeLuise, with only Jamie Farr returning as a scheming sheik, driving a limousine in a race nobody asked for. Despite a cast that included John Candy, Eugene Levy, and Brooke Shields, the film's tone was erratic, and its box office was an absolute disaster, so much so that many Cannonball Run fans are unaware of its existence. The Cannonball Run isn't just a racing comedy. It's audacious, silly, and strangely charming. And for all those reasons, it crossed the finish line to become a forever beloved classic. If you found this video interesting, please give us a like and subscribe to the channel. Is there a movie that made an impression on you like the Cannonball Run? Leave a comment, and in our next video, we'll bring you surprising facts you didn't know about that film.